ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसत् वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यईश्वरम्। हरि ओम तत्सत्। श्री श्री राधा गोपीनाथ भगवान की जय। जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Hare Krishna. Let's continue our discussion on the 18th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter title Pariksit, cursed by Brahmana boy. We saw the narration of the conclusion of the pastimes, birth history of Pariksit Maharaj being done by Sutta Goswami, and upon him concluding the pastimes of Maharaj Pariksit, the sages then express their eagerness to hear about Krishna Katha. So this starts from the 11th verse of this 18th chapter. They say, "O auspicious Sutta Goswami, may you live many years and have eternal fame, since you narrate the nectar of Lord Krishna to us mortals." There is a verse which we'll see later. Ayur harati vaipumsam udyan astam chayan yashav tasyarte chananita uttama shloka vartaya. At the rising and the setting of the sun, Ayur Harati, our lifespan, is actually taken away simply by the sun rising on the east and setting on the west. But only those who have engaged in glorifying the Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Lord who is glorified with choice poetry, only their life alone is actually kept intact and their lifespan never reduced. In other words, hearing about Krishna Katha and talking about Krishna Katha, that's the only way for eternal life. So the sages, when Sutta Goswami had arrived in that assembly, they had already embarked on a 1,000-year-old sacrifice, or a sacrifice which would go on for 1,000 years. So when Sutta Goswami was there, they had already started the Homa, which is supposed to go for 1,000 years. So they glorify Sutta Goswami and they say, our body is blackened by the smoke of this sacrifice. If you attend any Homa, even after attending the Homa, you stay there for some time. Even if you actually smell your clothes, or when you remove the clothes, you smell it, you can actually smell the ghee. You can smell the fumes of the Homa. So you can imagine they have already been doing for probably hundreds of years by then. So when they are doing it, not only are they doing it non-stop, but the smoke that is actually rising from this Homa, they had come and they're blackened their whole body. So they are saying our bodies are blackened by smoke of this uncertain, anashvase sacrifice, by this uncertain sacrifice, because they still don't know whether they will attain the success of the sacrifice or not. That they'll come to know only at the end of 1,000-year-old. So they are telling to Sutta Goswami, our body is blackened by this. We still don't know about the outcome of the sacrifice, but we are pleased by the intoxicating nectar of the lotus feet of Lord Govinda. Pada Padma Shavam Madhu. On one hand, we have embarked on this Homa which will go on for 1,000 years. We don't know about the outcome of it. It is very uncertain. However, something we can instantly relish is this nectar of the Krishna Katha of Lord Govinda, this Harikatha of Lord Govinda, which you are speaking. We are actually feeling the energy, we are actually feeling nourished by that nectar. So it goes to show how instantly the effect of Krishna's pastimes, the effect of Krishna consciousness will happen in our lives. Um, Kleshagni, we were touching on that before. One of the very first effect of Krishna Bhakti is Kleshagni. Any difficulties, distress that we have, it gets removed straight away. Shubhada, it brings auspiciousness. Moksha Lagutakrit. um, Sandarananda Visheshatma, Sri Krishna Karshani. So we see all these different effects of devotional service, but Kleshagni, which is happening right at the stage of somebody in the beginning stage of Bhakti, in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti itself, one can feel one's distress being removed from their lives instantly. So here they are saying that this effect of hearing Krishna Katha is at once uplifting us, whereas the effect of this fire sacrifice, we don't even know about the end result of it. Then they discuss about the power of devotees association. A moment of devotees association cannot be compared to one's duration of life in Swarga or even liberation. Yesterday I was in a youth class and somebody asked me, what does mukti mean? Mukti hitva anyata rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. We see this definition in Srimad Bhagavatam only. Muktir hitva anyata rupam. We carry so many designations in our life. Could be I work as a programmer. Okay, as a programmer, a son, a citizen of this country, a member of this family, so on and so forth. But these material designations that are there, if one gives up all kinds of material designations, muktir hitva anyata rupam, there is no more material designation. Swarupena vyavasthiti, giving up all material things, that's only one half. Second half is most important. Muktir hitva anyata rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. Giving up all material designations, one get re-established in their eternal constitutional position as the servant of the Supreme Lord. Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishna Nityadas. In that position, if one is, then one is said to have attained mukti. So here they are telling the effect of the devotee association, even if it is happening for a moment, even a moment, tulayama lavenapi, lavamatra, very, very short duration, not even 1 second, it's a fraction of second. Tulayama lavenapi, na swargam na punarbhavam. That momentary association of a devotee is far, far greater than swarga na punarbhavam or even mukti. Mukti here refers to only the first half of the mukti, wherein one is still not re-established, but one goes to the level of Brahman. One has got no trouble in life. Even that is, when in comparison to a moment of devotees association, even that is considered to be insignificant. Mukti is considered insignificant, and so does one's position in higher planetary system. That's also considered very, very insignificant. So here, tulayama lavenapi na swargam na punarbhavam. Bhagavat Sangi Sangasya, when one associates with the devotee, Bhagavat Sangi Sangasya, Martyanam Kim Utashisha. What to speak of any other material designation or any other material benediction one may get in this world, when momentary association of a devotee far outweighs, far outvalues even one's attainment of Swarga or even Mukti. So this verse discusses about that. Then they mention about there is no satiation in hearing about Krishna. Normally, you hear about someone, you'll get a bit bored after some time. I know this news, I know this story. But when it comes to Krishna, they are saying Konama Tripyed Rasavid Katayam. The names of Krishna, the glories of Krishna, which is the exclusive shelter of the devotees, You never get satiated in hearing about them. Satiated means when you come to a position of, I've had enough. We never come to that position. We can watch the same Ramayana again and again. You can watch the same Little Krishna again and again. You can read Krishna book again and again. We can read Srimad Bhagavatam again and again. Konama tripyed rasavid katayam mahattamikanta parayanasya nantam gunanam agunasya jagmur yogeshwara e bhava padma mukhyaha. This glories of Krishna, these qualities of Krishna, which is the exclusive shelter of all great devotees, these qualities are immeasurable even by great mystical powers of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, what to speak of ordinary people. These qualities, these attributes of Krishna, one never gets satiated in hearing about. And this next verse is very, very important for all of us, because this gives the clear-cut instruction. We'll see this later also. In 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam also, there is a verse that mentions about how three people get benefited. One who is speaker, one who is the hearer, and one who is the inquirer, one who is the person who is putting forth the question. All three benefit. But this particular verse, which is first canto, 18th chapter and 15th verse, speaks about the qualities of the speaker. And for us, we can take it as the qualifications of the speaker. If somebody wants to give Srimad Bhagavatam, what should be their qualification of the speaker? What should be the qualification of the hearer? And what should be the qualities of the subject matter that's discussed? All three as mentioned. Speaker, hearer, as well as the content of that conversation. The qualities are highlighted here. First quality for the speaker, Bhagavat Pradhano. Bhagavat means Bhagavan. Pradhano means Pradhana. Even in colloquial Tamil, we say Pradhana means that's like the chief object. That's like the central focal point. Bhagavat Pradhano. For the speaker, worship of the Supreme Lord or the Supreme Lord should be the chief object of worship and service. Ekanta Parayanasya. The Supreme Lord should be the exclusive focus, worship, and the object of love for the speaker. This is the quality of a speaker. In other words, if we have to speak Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the quality that we should be endowed with. We may have it in different degrees, but at least we should be aiming towards it. So this is the quality of the speaker. Bhagavat Pradhano Ekanta Parayanasya. Tanno Bhavan Vai Bhagavat Pradhano Mahattamaikanta Parayanasya. Harer Udaram Charitam Vishuddham Shushrushatam No Vitanotu Vidwan. So this is the first quality, the quality of the speaker. Next one, quality of the hearer, very important. Shushrushatam, eagerness to hear. If somebody brings a letter, in those days we see Srila Prabhupada would send letters to his disciples. And then whenever a letter comes from Srila Prabhupada, all the disciples will fight to go and hear, read. Even though Prabhupada had addressed the letter to just one of the disciples, it's a big celebration for everyone. Everyone would come, circle around the one who is actually opening the letter and reading. And whatever the person reads, everyone would relish that Prabhupada has sent it to them, as if Prabhupada has sent to them. Actually, Prabhupada has sent it to everyone. My dear boys and girls, it will go like this. Many letters you will see. Or many letters which Srila Prabhupada has addressed to one person, you will see that also being read out for others. Eagerness. Shushrushatam. So this is the second quality that's highlighted in this verse. And the third one, subject matter, Udaram, Vishuddham. Udaram means magnanimous. So the subject matter in any Bhagavatam class should be highlighting about the magnanimous quality, Udaram. Udaram, Vishuddham, and the pure pastimes. This should be the quality of discussion. This should be the quality of content, quality of the subject matter. So for a speaker, Bhagavat Pradhano, chief object of service and love should be Ekanta Parayanasya. Chief object of love should be Bhagavat Pradhana, should be the Supreme Lord. For the hearer, Shushrushatam, one who is very eager to hear. And as far as the subject matter is concerned, Udaram Vishuddham. The subject should be centered around glorifying the Lord's magnanimous and pure pastimes. So this is the qualification that is given. And then he says, then they say, the Shaunakadi Rishis, Pariksit Maharaj, he attained perfection simply by hearing about the topics spoken by Shukadev Goswami. Please describe them to us. They are already expressing their eagerness. Shushrushatam. So after glorifying about Krishna, after glorifying about the no satiation in hearing, after speaking, extolling the glories of momentary association, the sages also say that these are the qualities of the speaker, Bhagavad Pradhano. Qualities of the hearer is Shushrushatam, should be eager. And then they are qualifying themselves. Oh, or my dear Shukadev Goswami, we are actually eager to hear about the subject matter that was discussed by Shukadev Goswami with Pariksit Maharaj. Please narrate the narrations of the unlimited. And these narrations, they are Param, supreme, Punyam. Punya, generally we associate this word with material punya, piety. But punyam actually means purifying. Papa means that which is contaminating. That's a papam. Punyam means purifying. Param, supreme. Punyam, purifying. Ati adbhuta. Adbhuta, wonderful. Ati adbhuta means very wonderful. Rata, ati rata. One who can simultaneously fight with thousands of warriors is ati rata. So here, ati adbhuta, which is wonderful. Yoga nishtam, that narrations which is full of bhakti yoga. I had the opportunity to read, if not the full version, at least the abridged version of Padma Puran, Vishnu Puran, Garuda Puran, and then Bhagavata Puran, which is Srimad Bhagavatam. When you read Srimad Bhagavatam, one thing that will stand out in comparison to the other Puranas is how much literally every verse, every word in Srimad Bhagavatam speaks again and again and again and again about the glories of the Supreme Lord without any distraction. There may be some narrations you'll come across about some pure devotees of the Lord, but even their activities would still be full of their emotions, full of their relationship, full of their dealings with the Supreme Lord, their qualities with which how they practice their devotional service. You will never come across, when Prabhupada says there is no comparison, there is no competition for Srimad Bhagavatam, it is true, very true. And as I said, I had the opportunity to read other Puranas. When you come to Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see there is nothing like this. Nowhere else you will find the narrations of Krishna, devotees, narrations of qualities of bhakti in such a pure form, in such a concentrated form. You will never come across. Likewise, when you read Bhagavad Gita, you will understand nowhere else you will find Krishna's instructions, which is narrated in such a terse, to the point. The essence of the vast body of the knowledge encapsulated in just like one single verse. Krishna just gives like that. It's like a sutra, like we see Vedanta Sutra. It's like a formula. Atato Brahma Jignasa, something which is like an aphorism, very small, which can be elaborated. Actually, every verse of Bhagavad Gita can actually be elaborated. You will find a lot of parallels between Bhagavad Gita verse and Srimad Bhagavatam. What we see here in Srimad Bhagavatam that's been narrated across so many chapters, sections, verses, Krishna will just throw one verse and that will be loaded with so much information. And you can keep on discussing one verse for the rest of your life. That's the genius of Krishna. How could he speak Vedas, which is like such a vast body of knowledge, what is given in Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Itihasas, Krishna just throws one verse and all the meaning is loaded right there. Just understanding that one verse, we'll be able to understand every other verse. So Srimad Bhagavatam has that unique quality of glorifying Krishna, glorifying pure devotees, and simply by glorifying pure devotees, we will find slowly those qualities will also come and rub off on us. So these narrations of the Supreme Lord, they are Param, Supreme, Punyam, purifying, Ati Adbhuta, wonderful, Yoga Nishtam, they are full of Bhakti Yoga, Parikshitam, spoken to Pariksit Maharaj, Bhagavata this Srimad Bhagavatam is Bhagavata Abhiramam. This is very, very dear to the devotees because no other literature gives this much information. No other literature gives this much detailed information. So, in this way, the sages of Naimisharanya, they express their eagerness. So, this is verse 11 to 17. From verse 1 to 10, Sutta Goswami had concluded his narrations about Pariksit Maharaj. And he says, you asked me about 3 topics, about the history of Bhagavatam, history of Shukadeva Goswami, history of Pariksit Maharaj. I have done all the 3. Thank you. And then they put forth this question expressing their eagerness. Now, when Shaunakadi rishis express their eagerness, Sutta Goswami now reciprocates by responding to them, serving, following, and conversing with great souls. It cleanses oneself of all disqualifications arising from lower birth. To drive home this point, he quotes himself as the example. Because Sutta Goswami, he was not born as a pure Brahmana, Viloma Jatihi. We'll discuss about Viloma later. Viloma means mixed birth. Mixed birth means lower birth. When a Kshatriya man marries a Brahmana woman, that's usually considered lower. If a Brahmana man, that's a mixed, but it's considered lower. If a Brahmana man marries a Kshatriya woman, that's also mixed. So here he says, Viloma Jatihi. I am born in one such mixed caste. So I'm not a pure Brahmana. Despite him being in a mixed caste, he was still allowed to hear in that big assembly of 80,000 sages when Shukadeva Goswami was narrating Srimad Bhagavatam to Pariksit Maharaj. So here is a proof that this transcendental knowledge goes beyond one's Varna and Ashrama. It's not like people didn't know about his position. Everyone knew. All the great sages, they know about his position. But nobody condemned his sitting there and hearing about this glorious narration of the Supreme Lord that was going on between Shukadeva Goswami and Pariksit Maharaj. So he says, Aho vayam janma vrittodhyahasma vriddhanuvrityapi vilomajataha daushkulyamadim vidunodi shigram mahattamanam abhidana yogaha shigram. It at once immediately removes one of all the disqualifications. What is it? Simply serving, following, and conversing with the great souls. And Sutta Goswami is saying, I come from such a jataha, vriddha anuvriddhasya abhidhyana yogaha. He says that this conversation with the great souls, they purify, and in fact, it removes anyone's disqualifications which one may have by being born in a very low birth. Kiba Vipra, Kibanyasi, Shudra Kenanoy, a Krishna Tattvavita Se Guru Hoy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, it doesn't matter whether one is born in the family, Kiba Vipra of a Brahmana, Kibanyasi, or one is a Sannyasi. Kiba Vipra, Kibanyasi, Shudra Kenanoy, one can be a Shudra. Doesn't matter. A Krishna Tattvavita Se Guru Hoy. Whoever who is expert in the science of Krishna, Se Guru Hoy. Such a person can become a Guru. So here, serving, following, and conversing with great souls. It removes one of all disqualifications that comes from birth. Then he mentions about the power of chanting the holy names. He says, simply by conversing with the great souls, once the disqualifications go, what to speak of somebody who has taken shelter of a guru and chants the holy name of the Lord? What to speak of them? They are not just pure, they are so elevated, they can deliver the whole world. What then to speak of those who are under the direction of devotees and chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna, of Lord Ananta, who is unlimited in potency and transcendental by attributes? So, in other words, if one takes up the chanting of the holy name, one gets delivered then and there. I was watching one video of Banaswami Maharaj. Maharaj was saying, when Ajamila, when out of fear he called out his son, because of that Vishnu Dudas showed up. Maharaj was asking, at what point did Ajamila get liberated? Was he liberated when he saw Vishnu Dudas? Or was he liberated when, out of fear, when he saw the Yamadudas, out of fear for them, he called out his son, "Hey, Narayana." Prabhupada mentions in one place, when they bring the first print of the book of sixth canto, first part of sixth canto, they show the draft actually of Prabhupada's dictation. So the translation went, then Ajamila called out his son, Narayana, 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 like that. Prabhupada heard and he said, huh? Read it again. And then they said, oh, Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. Prabhupada says, like, not 3 times. Once is enough. Then they cut off. Cut off means like they removed the other 2. Prabhupada said he chanted only once, not even 3 times. But then Maharaj said something interesting. So he asked, when is it that he actually got liberated? When he saw the Vishnu Dudas, or when he actually called out his son's name out of fear? And Maharaj gives the answer. Actually, he got liberated during the Namakaran ceremony of his son. Because during Namakaran ceremony, the father would go and he will spell out, or he will say the name to the baby in the baby's ears. At that time, first time when he said, from today, your name is Narayana, at that time itself, he got liberated. So he didn't even have to wait until he came to the deathbed. What happened after that is just a detail, basically. So he said, Namabas chanting he did at that time itself. Very innocently, he chanted the holy name of the Lord. Now, this is the power of chanting the holy name of the Lord. The goddess of fortune hankers for his service. There is no one equal to the unlimited Lord. Great demigods cannot obtain the favor of goddess of fortune, but goddess of fortune is hankering to get his service. This is the position of the Supreme Lord. So glorification of the Supreme Lord, name, form, attributes will come in different shapes. Just in this section we are seeing, there is a direct glorification of the Lord, where it's mentioned that this glorious Lord, who is known as Uttama Shloka, we saw the content of the subject matter. How should it be? Udaram, Vishuddham. So here glorification of the pastimes of the Lord is given. Then we saw glorification of the power of chanting of the holy name is given. Then you see even goddess of fortune is hankering to serve the Supreme Lord. But then to drive home the point, goddess of fortune is desiring to serve the Supreme Lord. But to drive home the point, how great God is, glorification of goddess of fortune is given here. That goddess of fortune, who the demigods hanker to serve, she is hankering to serve the Supreme Lord. That means how great Krishna must be. So you will, if you study Bhagavad Gita verses also, you will see Like Krishna himself says, Atavanyena bahunena kim jnatena tavarjuna vistabhyaham yatam Krishnam ekamsena stito jagat. Krishna, when it comes to telling about his own glories, because Arjuna asks for, after telling everything in 10th chapter, the last verse of 10th chapter, Krishna says, oh, Arjuna, I can keep on going in detail, but what's the use? Kim jnatena tavarjuna. Sufficient it is for you to know that with a single fragment of myself, ekamsena stito jagat, I maintain this, I pervade and I maintain this entire universe, entire material creation, not just one universe, all the universes. That means with that you understand how great I must be, because I'm doing all of this with just a tiny, tiny fragment of me. So glorification of Krishna, you will see it's coming from so many different perspectives. Sometimes glorification is given directly, sometimes about the glorification of his pastimes, sometimes the glorification of his holy name, sometimes even glorification of his worshipper, to say how great the goddess of fortune is. She's being hankered after by so many demigods, but then she is hankering after the Supreme Lord. That means how great Krishna must be. So that's what this verse speaks. And after presenting the case, he says, who else other than Krishna can be called as Bhagavan? Why? The water from his toenails, which is Mother Ganga, was collected by Lord Brahma. Brahma himself is such a great person. He lives in Satyaloka. Brahma's body is not made of Panchabhuta. Brahma's body itself is made of intelligence. Intelligence is also a substance. That's how great Brahma is. Brahma Loka description is given. Brahma Loka, every place, the thing that is there, even that is not material. If Brahma is seated on a lotus, that lotus is also made of intelligence. It's not made of Panchabhuta. Like here in material world, you look at a lotus, lotus will look at you and that's it, nothing happens. You go to Satyaloka where Brahma is seated on the lotus, you look at the lotus and you think, yeah, I understand how this lotus looks, lotus will change its shape. It's made of intelligence. Lotus also can think. We haven't even touched the spiritual world yet. In Satyaloka, that's how great Brahma is. To understand Brahma, I'm telling you lotus indirectly. But that Brahma, who is the most intelligent person in this universe, he is collecting the water that has washed the toenails, the water that is emanating from the toe of Krishna. And with that water, he is purifying all the three worlds. That means how great Krishna must be. This is again another perspective of glorification of Krishna. Here, the glorification is given about the water that washed Krishna's feet. That is being glorified again to say how Krishna is glorified. You will find all these interesting angles throughout Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhakter Bhakta Janapriya. Krishna, when he says what to speak of my devotees. Bhakter Bhakta Janapriya. Even those who are related to my devotees, even they are very dear to me. Krishna says like that. Bhakter Bhakta Janapriya. Even what to speak of my devotees, even those who are related to my devotees. Bhakter Bhakta Jana Priya. Even they are very, very dear to me. So Krishna also speaks like that. Krishna's devotees also speak like that. The Dhiras, Dhira means one who is steady. The Dhiras who are firmly attached to Krishna, on that strength of attachment to Krishna, one can give up attachment for material bodies. One can give up attachment for even subtle bodies. They attain the Paramahamsa stage, in which non-violence and renunciation, non-violence here is ahimsa, and renunciation is upashamaha or consequential. In other words, the greatness of Krishna is such that whoever who is attached to him will very effortlessly give up attachment for anything material, both gross and subtle. They will become non-violent and they will become completely renounced. Ahimsa and upashamaha. So after acknowledging the glorification of the Saunakadi Rishis, Suta Goswami finally says, "Oh my dear sages, I will now describe Lord Vishnu's pastimes as far as my knowledge and realization allows me." And he uses an analogy. Who knows everything about Krishna? Nobody knows. Does that mean we should not talk about Krishna? Sometimes, even among devotees, we find when requested to speak, "Oh, I'm unqualified. Oh, I don't know anything." These are all false humility. Why false humility? Even to say, "I can't do something," that is also on the platform of ego. As much as if somebody says, "I can do it," in a puffed up stage, that's also ego, false ego. So the person who is saying, looking down upon other people in a condescending way and saying, "You don't know how to preach, I know how to preach," false ego platform. But the person who says, "I don't know anything, I don't want to preach," that's also on the platform of false ego. Surprise, surprise. That's not humility. Humility means we take the instruction of Prabhupada and we do without thinking whether we are qualified or not. That's humility. We take instruction of our authority and we do. That's humility. That's real ego platform. That's a transcendental platform. But many times we fall victim to our mind, because mind likes to be lazy. Mind doesn't want to put itself in a responsible position. So mind will just blurt out something. "I am very, very humble." That's not humility. Humility means we'll follow. And then we will see same humble devotees would sit and criticize other people in a humble way, in a hushed tone. That's not humility. That's a false ego. So we have to be very mindful. When we read the Shastras, we should allow the Shastras to come and act on us. We need to be open, we need to be receptive, so that Bhagavata vibrations can come and transform us. So here, Sutta Goswami says, "Let me narrate about Lord Vishnu's pastimes, even though I'm not so great, but I'll do that to the extent of my knowledge and realization, just like how a bird can fly as high as it can in this vast sky. Sky is very big. A bird can't scale the entirety of the sky. Nevertheless, the bird is still flying, however high, however wide, however far it can. Like that, the glories of the Supreme Lord is unlimited. Let me do whatever I can do." So when somebody asks us to speak, we don't need to compare ourselves with great stalwart preachers. Even they are not unlimited. They are also doing their own extent. Only Krishna knows unlimited. Likewise, our limit, stalwart preachers' limit may be this much, our limit may be this much. We should still be preaching and not fall prey to this false ego and false humility. So saying this in a very rejoiced mood, because he know he has the right audience. Now he is going to speak about how Pariksit Maharaj was cursed by Shringi Brahmana. We'll conclude this chapter next week. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki jai, Samaved Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna.